Hello, everyone. This week we're going to have a quick talk with Nick. Nick, I'm super pumped to have you on the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Let's kick it off with a one word open. If you could share with the audience real quick, what's one word you could describe to tell us how you're feeling exactly in this moment? What would that be?
Empowered.
Empowered. I love it. Okay, let's get right into it. So, take the next 3 to 5 minutes, talk about your business, give us, a good understanding of your background. So, and
Yeah.
then when you're talking about your business, tell us what you do, who you help, and how you help them. That'd be great.
Yeah. So I'm with a company called Air Traffic Control. And our purpose here is to make content personal to humans. The thing that's interesting, I had started a company back in 2011 called Quadrangle that was in the higher education space. And it was a bit of like a HubSpot for higher ed, right? And we did okay. We got to an exit in 2018. The interesting path along there was that we had really obfuscated what was special about that business. We built a million features on top of what was really special, which was this engine that could personalize what was happening through those features. And those features were, email marketing and a website, a content management system, these other things. And after we wrapped up that exit, we started to think a little bit about what we had done right and what we had done wrong, and started having conversations with lots of different people about lots of different things. And it started to become really apparent that this marketing personalization problem was pretty ubiquitous. It didn't matter whether it was a mid-sized enterprise or a huge company with tons of resources, or a teeny tiny company that was just trying to get their content marketing up off the ground. The reality was everybody was struggling, right? You had to tag segments and people and create logic rules and line up all this content and decide what it was about. And the harder that people are working right now in order to personalize their marketing, frankly, the more expensive, the more difficult, and the more likely to break that entire system is. And so we thought really hard about whether or not we could play a role. And so what we've developed is a platform that plugs into the tools that everybody already uses. So it plugs into stuff like WordPress and MailChimp and Constant Contact and Pardot and HubSpot and these different tools. And instead of asking you to leave those tools, it just looks at all the awesome things you've already been doing, agnostically connects to any content source you've got, so your content management system, or even RSS feeds or a video feed right from here. And it looks at all that information and uses machine learning in order to dynamically decide what every individual should see. And as a result, things like email click-through rates will literally double the day that the thing goes live, and website CTA conversion rates will triple the day that the thing goes live. So it's really, really very exciting proposition, and it's very partnered, very all boats rise on high waters, trying to fill in this gap that's out there in the rest of the MarTech ecosystem. And basically it's win-win-win, win for us, win for our customers, and win for the partners that we work with.
That's really great. What about some recent wins? Can you share with the audience a recent win that you encountered in your business that's like a huge win? And tell us your takeaway from it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had this remarkable opportunity to become a part of the Salesforce Accelerate program. As we started to think about how we would go to market, we've believed that a partnered approach was always going to be a part of the puzzle. And we had some early partnership wins, and we got introduced to the Salesforce Accelerate program by one of our advisors. We applied, we got in, and it was really a fascinating program. A lot of hands-on help. Salesforce is so phenomenal when it comes to their ecosystem, and they really do mean it, right? They've got this whole concept of Ohana, and they want to take care of their customers. They want to take care of their partners as well. And so they really help to kind of shuttle us through, help us figure out how to integrate into that system, help us think about what our go-to-market motion would look like, because their ecosystem is so incredibly complex and robust, that navigating that as an early stage company, it's a huge opportunity, but you can absolutely get lost if you're just trying to get through documents on your own. And so having gotten into that program and then getting partnered up with some really phenomenal mentors who are inside of that Salesforce organization has been an absolutely massive win, very transformative for us in the way that we think about our go-to-market.
Nick, that's really exciting to hear. I don't think I've ever had someone out here that's been on the Salesforce Accelerator. So that's awesome stuff, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the other side of that. Unfortunately, failures. So it's just a part of life. It's part of
Yep.
business. Tell us about a time that you had a failure that you thought you couldn't pull through it, you couldn't get through it, couldn't pull through, couldn't get through, whatever. It was like freaking out, and then you ended up pulling through, and you had a huge takeaway from it. What was that like?
Yeah, it's a
What
great
was it?
question. I'll actually tell you, it's a story about the very first client that this business, air traffic control, had. So we had gotten through our internal R&D and testing. We knew that the engine would do what we intended for it to do, which is connect a human with a specific piece of content and enable that to happen through another tool, in this case, Constant Contact. And we rolled that out for a customer, and the customer had very, very little content of their own. And so they had this initial problem, which was, okay, great, you can connect the dots, but there just aren't that many dots to connect on the content side. So how interesting is this? And we said, okay, great, no problem. Why don't we bring in third-party content, right? Let's help you create a newsletter akin to something that Industry Dive would do, or Smart Brief would do, or one of these kind of industry curated newsletters would offer. And let's help you do that for the industry that you serve. So you have this really cool top of funnel proposition, totally automated, right? And we said, just tell us the places that your customers already read content. And they gave us a list of sources, and we went through those, and we just added those in. And the content that was coming through, I mean, we looked, and internally our team thought, nah, this content's not that great, but it's what was provided. So there you go, that's fine. And it turned out that when senior leadership came around and looked at it, they said, wow, this content's garbage. And that means the whole system's garbage. They said, this is garbage, everything's garbage, we don't like it. And they canceled their contract. And we thought about that and went, oh my God, we just lost our very first client. They reneged on the second invoice. This is a huge problem. We were counting on that in order to pay for the next couple of months of development on the other feature sets that we were going to go after. Oh man, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And two really interesting things came out of it. One is how we think about the way that we stay bootstrapped, and the other one is the way that we think about the bottoms up SMB market. So the way that we think about the SMB market, we really kind of refigured the way that the system worked, and we actually partnered with a news API so that on the back end we're getting high quality content from tens of thousands of sources. So we really rethought the way that the product worked so that we could make small businesses really successful, knowing that they had a content availability problem, but then changing the way that the product worked so that we didn't have to also ask them to bear the brunt of figuring out where those sources might be. So we did that automatically, again, using machine learning. And then in terms of staying non-dilutive and really bootstrapping the business, we looked at how well we understood the MarTech landscape and the demand gen landscape. And we thought, geez, what if we wrap services around this technology and really mitigated the risk for our customers by actually doing a lot more for them? Things that we might not do long-term, but things that right now we deeply understand how to do really, really well, particularly for mid-enterprise companies that have this big pain around the repeatability of the demand gen. So we went out there and we said, look, services are totally fine. There's people who would go and tell you that services are bad for your cap. They don't look good when you're going out there and raising money. And I think that's garbage. And I think that the tune is changing on that too. It says, hey, if you can wrap services around what you're doing and mitigate your customer risk and also, avoid raising outside capital, that's incredibly scrappy. We love to see it. And we've deeply enjoyed the experience of really getting our hands dirty and surrounding our customers with more services as we continue to build out the product so that it's robust enough to really stand on its own.
That's really awesome. Thanks for giving us the details on that because
Yeah.
I know people listening are going to be like, "Wow," they're going to be taken away. So let's move over to some rapid fire questions. So tell me your biggest expenses right now, and when you look at your expenses, what's the number one or the top two expenses that you're currently paying?
Yeah, it's absolutely on our development team. We're a product-led growth organization. To us, product is everything, and we've gone through a 9-month refactoring of the entire product to make it self-serve, a free forever onboarding flow, and that's a really big lift, right? The underlying technology, frankly, didn't fundamentally change, but boy, that UX and UI changed a lot. And so that was a really, really big expense for us, but we think it sets us up for a really big 2022.
Great. The next question is going to be a curveball, but not really. So if you could go back like that first day you launched and you're sitting in your
Mhm.
chair at your desk, you're on your computer, it was your first day. If you
Yeah.
could go back in time and you could give yourself one piece of advice on your first day of launch, what would you tell yourself?
Services are a good thing.
Nice. Nice. What about thought leadership? Give me your point of view on thought leadership. What do you think it is in a quick 90 seconds?
Yeah, geez. I mean, look, if you're starting a company and you don't have a really strong opinion about why you're doing what you're doing, you probably shouldn't be starting a company, honestly. If you're just doing another version of something that's already out there, the likelihood you're going to be successful is pretty limited.
Mhm.
So I think that there's a fundamental requirement that you have at least edge thinking occurring in your business, and that you're representing that to the rest of the market, right? And for us, our big message is, look, the world has convinced itself that it's delivering on personalized marketing, and it's an absolute misnomer. It isn't one to one. It's still segmentation, and it's really hairy and it's really hard, but one to one is truly, actually, factually possible. And so that's where we really bring our thought leadership forward, is to try to talk about human specific marketing. And if we don't talk about that, we're really missing an opportunity to tell our special story that describes why we do what we do.
That's super interesting. I don't think I've ever had anyone describe it that way. So thank you.
My pleasure.
90-second answer to this one. Company culture. What's your point of view and how a company could, if a company is struggling with culture and the
Mm,
gap is here, right? They want to get to here and they're there. What would you say, how could they get to here with an awesome culture where they're lacking
mm.
right now down here?
Yeah, geez. I don't know if it's something that's entirely templatized, right? I don't know if the motion would look the same inside of every organization. I mean, me personally, I've got some fundamentals that I think are always need to be in place in order to be successful. Um, one, frankly, would be knowing what matters. Two, talking about what matters, measuring what matters, and making sure that people know what they own and who owns what. I think that that's left up in the air so often, even among friends who have been founders and they have a co-founder and they're looking at each other and, wait a minute, who does that again? And all of a sudden things aren't happening. I just think that there's no such thing as over communications or over documentation. So the more that you know what you're doing and whose responsibility and how to measure, I think that that's really important. And then everything else should stem from there, because that's really a culture of honesty. And that's the thing that really sets at the foundation of, I think, any successful business.
That's really great. Let's talk about your customer acquisition model. What is your best way to acquire new clients that's working for you today?
Yeah. So, right now, frankly, it's very kind of founder-led growth, reaching out to people who look like our ICP, fairly kind of, cold outbound types of approaches. But our new model that we're really excited about, like I had mentioned before, is a product-led growth model, self-serve, allows somebody to come in with the tools that we're integrated with, like Constant Contact, like MailChimp, like Pardot, like HubSpot, and log in with those tools and immediately get an immense amount of value, right? For free forever. Reporting on the subject matter that's working for them, reporting on the things that are happening, at their customers that they may not be aware of, because we're doing this great news search on the back end, and helping them better understand the types of content that they should be creating in order to contain to engage their audience. The nice thing about that motion is that there's nothing about that we can't directly market. And the thing that's really compelling for us is we can use tools like Built With and other sources to know who uses the software that we have our integrations with. So we can go out and target tens of thousands of HubSpot customers tomorrow and directly find their heads of marketing and their heads of marketing operations, and go tell them a really cool story about their website, their content, and that they can sign in for free. And as we start to do that, we believe that when we turn on our partner-led growth and say to HubSpot or say to to MailChimp or to Constant Contact or Salesforce and say, hey, look, we've got 50 of your customers who are being really successful. We think that's a story that we should be telling together, right? We want to be in your app exchange. We want to be in your market. And we want to tell a really cool, cohesive story about how we're all better together. And we're already getting signals from our partners that they want to do that. So it's really incumbent upon us to make sure that that user-guided product-led growth flow is really successful and really working, and then take those metrics to our partners and say, hey, let's go tell the story to a lot more people so that we can all be successful together. So very synergistic approach is planned.
Awesome, Nick. So here we are at the end. If you could take this opportunity to give out your social handles, your website address, that way the audience, if they want to find out more information, they'll know how to
Yeah.
do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at airtrafficcontrol.io. And you can also find us at linkedin.com as air traffic control. And you can find me on Twitter at NickOnBiz. And you can also find me on email at Zeckets, Zeckets at airtrafficcontrol.io.
Awesome, Nick. Thank you for the energy. And here we are at the final question. Give me your one word close. Tell us what that is and tell us why you're choosing to sign off with this.
Yeah. Upwards. I always like to sign off on emails onwards and upwards. And for us at air traffic control, I mean, we really do like to live our in branding of this aviation concept. And I think that there's this remarkable opportunity for lots of stakeholders in what it is that we're doing: our shareholders, our team members, our customers, our partners, to all experience real significant upward lift as a result of connecting a lot of really important dots.
Awesome, Nick. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.